Hey, I'm not saying Chuck Todd is the worst human being in the world. I'm sure he's a nice guy if he was your uncle or your cousin or he was dating your sister. I'm sure he'd be like, oh, it's that news guy. He's okay. He likes movies. But he's bad at being...
He would report on the Holocaust. Really?
Neutrally. He'd be like, the Jews say Hitler's burning them alive and committing genocide. Hitler says it's the Jews' fault. I'm Chuck Todd.
I guess we'll never know.
And I guess we'll never know. That's right. That's how it goes. I guess we'll never know. And I'm not blaming Chuck Todd. This is because all of journalism is like this now. They've replaced objectivity with neutrality, and this is going to be a great example of it. Here, Chuck Todd, Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump, it's like... he's not only a bully, he's not only a racist, he's not only a misogynist, he acts like a immature 12-year-old. Everything he said, lying, look at little Marco Rubio. It's like stuff you wouldn't be seen saying in public because you have dignity. He doesn't. Obviously, he's the comb over Hitler. And so here he is they were having a town hall, and Donald Trump has had these kind of violent protester, but they've been having violence at his hate rallies. People are finally standing up to the hate and bigotry and fascism that Donald Trump is bringing to America, which is what you're supposed to do. And so here's Chuck Todd's first question to Bernie Sanders at the town hall this week.
Let me look. Donald Trump's been pinning the blame on you for all this. Let me just play that sound and get you to react to it.
That's a Bernie supporter, folks. Got the Bernie sign. Were you put in here by Bernie? Get out. Out. Bernie, our communist friend who's running. They had all professionally made signs. They're holding them up. It says Bernie on them. Bernie is organized by the group that endorsed Bernie.
No. Let me just say, he called him a communist in that little crazy rant of his. And he sounds like a man. He doesn't sound like a presidential candidate. And we come back to the studio, and what does Chuck Todd not say? He doesn't say, well, obviously he's an unhinged maniac, right? Obviously that guy is an unhinged, racist, misogynistic maniac who's inciting violence everywhere he goes. Now, it would be impolite and improper if I actually asked you to respond to an obviously unhinged maniac's accusations during one of his hate rallies where he's inciting violence and pointing fingers at someone else. Obviously, this is just another example of what a maniac this guy is and how unfit he is for the presidency. But that's not what happened. What Chuck Todd did was he played that clip so Bernie could frickin' respond to an unhinged maniac who we all know is inciting violence from coast to coast, right? Here's what Chuck says.
Here's what I would like to have happen. They come back, and Chuck Todd goes, now that guy's better television than you.
Yes, now that guy's better television than you. Why can't you do some of that stuff so we can get better ratings? Here's what he did say.
He's actually, Senator Sanders, he's actually referring, I think, to Move On is what he's doing, because Move On is endorsed you. Chuck, any role your campaign is playing in this?
So instead of, again, he makes him answer it. What is he doing there? He's elevating Trump's question to a legitimate question. Hey, are you doing it? He's got a question. Are you responsible for violence at Donald Trump's events? As if, again, what he's doing, instead of debunking BS, he's repeating it, which legitimizes it, which is the opposite thing you're supposed to do as a journalist, right? You're supposed to debunk BS, not give it a platform, not repeat it, and not legitimize it, and certainly not make the guy who might be the next president of the United States respond to unhinged ramblings of a maniac.
This is the equivalent. Let's be clear about something. Something like 40% of Americans believe in angels. Okay? Now, this would be the equivalent of Chuck Todd going to a scientist, an actual phenomenologist, and saying, so what do you think about angels? They're not a real... The scientist actually has to turn to him and go, that's not a real thing. Just because 40% of the country believes in this lunacy doesn't mean I have to respond to it.
That's it's a good analogy, as all analogies are flawed. That one is flawed because it's way worse what Chuck Todd's doing, actually.
I would agree.
I think what Chuck Todd's doing is actually way worse because maybe we could all have a chuckle over that question and then the scientist gets a chance to debunk it, and it's kind of. But what this does is it raises, again, this kind of maniac's point of view to a legitimacy, and instead of shooting them down, he's doing exactly the same
and
thing.
what's worse is it's setting up a false paradigm in which it seems like there is a war going on between people who believe in progressive values and this nationalist freak.
Right. So that's the one question. So great job, Chuck. That was fantastic. I get fantastic. It's just the opposite of what you should be doing, and this is all because
Chuck Todd, one of the most successful journalists in America right now,
and they've. This is what happens when corporate news journalists replace objectivity with neutrality. Objectively, you could look at Trump and go, he's an unhinged maniac who's inciting violence. If you're neutral, you're like, I don't know if he is. Is he? Bernie, are you sure? I don't know. And then you end up repeating his stupid, crazy ramblings instead of debunking them or dismissing them or framing them correctly for your own viewers. That's what happens when you replace objectivity with neutrality. Want to see some more? What happens?
Well, to be fair, they tried to find policy positions for him to react to, and Trump has none. Yeah, Trump has none. They actually said, like, well, what do you think about this policy of Trump's? He doesn't have any. There's nothing to react to.
So they should repeat that over and over. Hey, by the way, we're playing this because he won't answer policy questions. He doesn't. They don't even. So I'm saying, again, wrong framing. You're going to show that, at least frame it correctly. The reason why we show him saying unhinged ramblings is because he won't answer policy questions. He's horrible. He won't tell us what he's going to do with the country, and so we should all be afraid. You could objectively say that. Objectively, you could say that. But if you're neutral, you're like, I don't know if the country's in risk. I don't know if he should answer policy questions. I don't know. Does that matter? I guess the voters will decide. That's the horribleness of neutrality when you're a journalist. Okay, so...
And Donald Trump, to be fair, his words on how we should beat up our protesters are the closest he's come to cohesive policy in any of his speeches.